What would you do if your child bullied someone to suicide? Serious. This question hits close to home. My high school-aged son was cyberbullied and targeted by a group of mean girls. I had a very long talk with him one night in which he revealed he'd been self-harming as a result, and considering suicide. The shit-stained parents of the bullies did nothing. They escalated, beginning with a video where 6 of them assaulted him and made it look like he was beating up one of them. Posted that video to everyone and he's been a complete pariah ever since. He was used to being an outcast before, being autistic. Next was a smear campaign in which one of them, adjacent to the group, went to his principal and accused him of using the N-word at her. Police showed up at our house with the intention of arresting him for the assault, but a bystander had captured the whole thing, unedited, and those girls were arrested, taken from school, and charged formally with assault, then issued an immediate restraining order. We got him a voice recorder that he wears all the time at school, so the next allegation of racism that was made was proven false and met with a suspension from the accuser. And his mom got online to find info about the bullies and has been using it to take them down ever since. Every transgression gets documented/screen capped, and the bullies are losing, and our son wants to live again. What I want to do? When it first happened, drive around the neighborhood with 6 bricks for specific front windows and a bitch slap for parents who let their kids be like this. What I did do: hire a very good lawyer, gather evidence, document all interactions, and report to the police. If I found out my child had been doing this to others apart from the fact that he would never withdraw from school, immediate psychotherapy and confinement to the house, alone with martial arts or something that involves self-discipline. Edited for clarity. Every kind of counseling imaginable. Anger management, behavioral, sensitivity, and whatever else I can find. That happened to my neighbors/friends. Their son was bullied until he committed suicide. The bullies were too young and there is no real punishment for people like that. My neighbors were heartbroken. We couldn't understand that children his age stripped him naked, chasing him through the woods. And there were other things happening before that. School didn't do anything. Taking him out of school didn't help. They still came after him. I wish there would be a better system for that and real punishment for bullies. Edit. Thank you all for sharing your experience and thoughts. Another edit: as people are wondering where this happened, town in Germany with about 60,000 at the time. When bullying was probably not even seen as that. We are going somewhere for help. I clearly failed them. Oh my, up. I looked at your account. If you are referring to something personal, it seems to be eating you up inside. You have posted about this several times. Your age is mentioned in your postings. I'm a mom. I have teens. This is a real problem. If someone is doing this to you, please don't keep it to yourself and don't just post about this on Reddit for advice. If it is the opposite, you need to get help. Therapy. Ask yourself why and tell someone. Removed. Fuck, I'm not quite sure. Whatever I do would probably depend on the why. Was suicide the planned outcome? Were they just being thoughtless and egocentric and didn't realize the harm they were doing? Empathy develops later in some children than others, so it's not unreasonable? Were they doing it as part of a larger group where mob mentality was more of a driving factor than individual motivation? Were they heavily bullied themselves and under the impression that bullying others could elevate them in some way? Sounds weird, but common? I'd probably end up seeking some kind of professional help for my child no matter what the motivation was, but at the very least their motivation would change how I personally view them moving forward. Therapy and counseling for parent and child. Separately and together. Eternal disappointment. I'll have them do all the therapy, rehab, medical care, building support systems all they want, but nothing will ever take away the fact that they've indirectly killed someone innocent. Honestly, you have to take responsibility as a parent. I would get my child into an inpatient psych and look within myself and figure out where I went wrong as a parent. I know you can't control your kids 100% of the time, but at a young age you should be. I was bullied so horribly in 8th grade that I'm honestly surprised no one found out / I'm not messed up more emotionally. Parents, keep an eye out for your kids' social medias, text messages, etc. Teach your kids empathy and how to be a good person. Step 1. See what the law has to say with what they did, and support any punishment coming their way. Step 2. Sit down and in no unclear terms tell them how I feel about the situation and what I think needs to happen. Step 3. Get them formally evaluated by a psychiatrist, and then a lot of counseling. Step 4 would depend if they are remorseful and sincere, or evidently evil. I'd start a journey with the child to understand empathy and learn to genuinely care about others. We'd be volunteering in shelters. We'd be making friends with new types of people in new environments. They'd see a counselor from then on, and I'd start having regular contact with their school about healthy behavior. I do a complete assessment of their social group, environment, past times, and if things needed to be changed they would be. Every step of this with them, with love. I have no kids, but I want children to show them how much love and support there is in the world. I take this as failure. Feel like an absolute failure of a parent. Probably throw their ass in therapy as well and have a very long and uncomfortable talk about the fact that I went through that as a teen, on the bullying side to the point of an attempt. If my kid didn't seem to make any strides to get better though, I probably wouldn't talk to them once they hit 18. I can't tell if my approach is warranted or straight up sadistic, but here it goes. I'd make sure they understood the full extent of what they did. The full extent, including how the child in question committed suicide and how excruciating the experience was. I'd make sure they understood that they irreparably destroyed the lives of the family and friends of the child and that there was nothing they could do to change that. I'd make sure they understood that they would likely never be forgiven and that they would have to accept that. I'd make them listen to story after story of people who attempted suicide because of people like him/her who put people through hell. If there were any news articles regarding the specific suicide my child was responsible for, I'd make him/her read it. If the parents of the victim wanted to say something directly to my child, assuming they wouldn't get physically violent or too verbally aggressive, I would absolutely allow it and make them listen. My point is this: there is absolutely no way in hell I'd let my child escape even an ounce of their due accountability for something as cruel, serious, permanent, devastating and life-ruining as that. I couldn't. I'd only protect my child from harassment, threats and violence.